Hello, good afternoon. This is Francisco Vázquez. I am an architect, the founder and president of 3G Smart Group, which is the responsible of the Smart Conversations. So welcome to this digital Smart Conversation that we're going to have today with three very interesting guests that we'll be introducing in a minute. First of all, this is the last digital Smart Conversation that we are doing for this exercise that we have been doing the last months after talking with more than 40 corporate real estate responsibles in different big organizations, mainly around Latin America, Spain, and Portugal. We get some conclusions that we have been discussing in these digital Smart Conversations. And today we will be also commenting with these three guests that I will introduce later about these main issues that we have get for this podcast and these previous digital Smart Conversations. The first thing that we have seen is that the COVID-19 has come to question the model of life and the society, really have put in question of the way that we were living in the past. Technology has proved its capabilities. So because of the technology, we have been able to continue working, and companies have continued their activity. We have been in contact also with our families and our friends. So this macro pilot that looks like clear that have accelerated the transformation process that some of us were talking about for a few years ago, no? And this is what we call the flexible life model. This COVID has helped also to remove many cultural boundaries that we had in the past when we were trying to implement flexible work models, flexible office models. So really, in one side, this pandemic has really helped to move on in the transformation process of many companies. The insights that some of the insights I'm going to share you, some of the insights that we get from this podcast is that corporate real estate responsible thinks that the occupation of because of the flexibility, the occupation of the headquarters will drop down from the actual 70-80% to probably 40 to 50%, no more than that. I'm not talking on the short term that, of course, we are going to be below the 50% because of the distance issues, but they think that in the medium long term, this occupancy will never increase up to levels that before the pandemic that will be around the 70 or 80%. So we'll get into not more than 50%. So the measure will not be more a square meter per employee, and we'll need to create another measures to define the sizes and to define the headquarters of the companies. Another conclusion is that it's not only about headquarters or home working. It's about ecosystem of workplace, ecosystems of where people can work anywhere at any time. And this means, of course, home working, the corporate headquarters, but also this, what we call the third space, where flex office has a lot of possibilities of being one of the being part of this distributed work. From headquarters to carry out tasks will change to a place to socialize, learn, and collaborate. So this means that the headquarters that have been designed always from the workstation and the metrics, everything was around the workstation. The importance of the workstation will go down and will be more important these socialize, learn, or collaborate spaces. And also from few workplace settings that we have in the past, like meeting rooms, workplace, an office, a closed office, to an extensive variety of typologies of space to choose. So that will mean that probably, or what these corporate real estate responsibles are thinking is that there is an enormous opportunity of optimizing the square meters, and most of them, nearly 90% of them, think that they will have less square meters for corporate purposes in the future. Okay. After this small introduction, I'm going to introduce Muhannad Al-Saldi, who is an economist and come from the management side. No, he's general manager actually of WeWork in Italy and Spain. Okay. Good afternoon, Muhannad. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Francisco. All my pleasure.
So, Muhannad, what is your opinion about this situation of after pandemic? What's going to happen after pandemic? Are you agree that it's a very good opportunity for flex offices?
Well, so first of all, let me start by saying thank you for inviting me here, and also it's very interesting for us. I've been looking at your different conferences that you had in the last weeks, and somehow we came out with the same conclusions from different ways. So somehow we are aligned. So let me start by evaluating on how did we come out with this somehow conclusion that I will explain now. First of all, we started looking at our global footprint. So we are having more than 800 locations around more than 138 countries. At this stage, what we have in EMEA, it's more than 120 locations and buildings. And regarding me, I represent Italy and Spain, where we are having 12 buildings, 12 WeWork locations in 3 different cities with 6 buildings upcoming. Just last month, we opened our last building in Paseo de Gracia in Barcelona. So what did we do? We represent a global membership base of almost 700,000 people. Half of them, 45%, are enterprises. Enterprises, that means large corporations, so Google, Facebook, Amazon, Salesforce, etc., that have been selecting WeWork due to the flexibility. So we start from a scenario where we were already looking at France, and the flexibility was the choice for this large corporation due to the flexibility in terms of space. So they are allowed somehow to expand their own contract during the commitment. And the second leverage was is the flexibility in terms of timing. So somehow they could commit for the time that they want. So our first goal was to listen to our members. So we are meeting them, but also we have been somehow running internal surveys. And what came out from the internal surveys is that there is not only need for flexibility in terms of time and space, but also this large corporation, their employees, they are looking for flexibility also in terms of scheduling. Somehow what came out is that somehow they are looking forward to come back and work from the office 3-4 days a week, and 1-2 days work from other locations. That can be home or other location, as you said previously. 74% of the enterprise members, participants, they said that to foster collaboration, innovation, you need to be in the office, because human connection is more important than ever. This environment, this cultural environment, this challenge, this connection, this is the basic of having the collaboration, the innovation that every company is looking for. Also, 80% of the millennials that replied to our surveys said, "Hey, we don't want to be known as the Zoom generation," and this is quite ironic. They are probably the most technological generation that we have, but the feedback is very important and needs to be somehow underlined, which is they are looking forward and they are feeling like they're losing their own connections. So this is another point that we always have to keep in mind. Third point that is really interesting during the survey is 60% of the people of the enterprise members that replied to our surveys said that they felt that Zoom wasn't the most productive way of doing business. They used to work and they are working longer than ever, harder than ever, and still we are in a situation where the economic productivity probably is one of the lowest. So what is somehow the outcome of all this discussion is that every company is looking forward to an A/B format, or to have 25% of the workforce one week, 25% the other one. But at the end, the reality is that no one knows when we will have the vaccine. So it can be in 12, 18, 9 months. So in terms of having like the solution, what is the best solution? Really, we need to take care on flexibility is really the word to have. And we said flexibility in terms of timing, flexibility in terms of space, but also flexibility in terms of schedule, because everyone wants to be in the office in order to foster the innovation and the collaboration within the workforce. What are the key leverage to allow that? We said, and you said it previously, actually, during your intro, it's really important to reevaluate the ratio in terms of somehow workstation, because in terms of having a workstation, you can have a laptop, a Wi-Fi connection, you can do it from your home. But in terms of having a designed and really studied flexible workspace, this is something very important. I believe that you had in one of your previous chat also Lola from EY.
Yes.
That was saying that they are reevaluating also from their side strategy in terms of workspace, having 30% of ratio, and then the rest somehow meeting rooms or somehow areas with a lot of amenities where people can somehow connect and interact, and that's where you have the magic starts. So we said flexibility, we said design and efficient workspace to reinforce the collaboration, the innovation, and the multiple locations opportunity. So being able to be somehow, and this is somehow what we see from all our members, knowing that they can work from different locations, multiple locations at their call, at their time, and being somehow flexible to their needs. That's how we see it.
Okay, thank you very much, Johanan. I'm going to introduce the second guest. Is my friend Jack Pringle. Jack is an architect, actually regional director for EMEA in Perkins & Will. Perkins & Will is also a member as 3G office of the IDEA Global Network, so we are partners also. So welcome, Jack. It's a pleasure having you here in this
thank you.
Conversation. Thank you very much.
Well, Francisco, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you. And one of the pleasures is to hear experiences from different parts of the world and to reflect how similar they are. You might think there would be international differences, but you know, the physics of life are the same wherever you are, and this coronavirus is affecting us all in a very similar way. I would start by looking at what we've learned from the coronavirus. And the first thing we've learned is that working from home isn't that bad, you know, particularly if you've got a rather nice home, and particularly if you do a certain type of job that's susceptible to being done from home very well. And we have one client who said that they sent their finance team home early because they could see this was going to happen. And they had a productivity bounce because, you know, the guys and gals were not being distracted in the office by people coming and pestering them. So we've, you know, so even our most conservative clients have realized that actually working from home, which they would not have countenanced in the past, is something that works for some people pretty well. I think the next thing we've learned is that people don't like commuting. During the pandemic, people have got an absolute horror of being in a packed train or a packed underground tube or bus, and even in a packed lift going up into a high rise. And obviously, after the pandemic, after the virus has gone, there'll be some after effect, but that particular abhorrence, perhaps will fade. But what I think might not fade is the other aspect of that, is that people think, well, how stupid is that? I mean, how stupid is it to commute an hour a day in horrible circumstances, to go into the office, to sit in front of your boss, just so your boss can see you doing your email? And, I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about too much. So I think, those are two signal things that we've all learned. But it really doesn't work for everybody, and it doesn't work for every type of work. I think junior staff in particular, have a real problem with this. First of all, you've got some new graduate who's got a rented bedroom in somebody else's flat, and they're working on a laptop in some pretty horrible circumstances. They thought they were going to work in a fabulous office with that brought a social life with it, and they're just not getting it. And of course, your first 10,000 hours in your profession is where you learn everything, and you sit in an office and you absorb everything by osmosis that's going on around you, and you learn really fast, and you ask 100 questions an hour. And how do I do this? Where do I find that? All these sort of things. That's quite difficult to do sitting alone in your bedroom. So I think junior staff, as your previous presenter said, doesn't work very well for them. And I think when you look at that junior staff through the lens of the company, there is often a talent war to get the very best graduates. You see some professions, the lawyers are obsessed with this. They want to get the very, very best graduates because they know they're going to propel themselves. They're going to propel the firm into the future. Well, if you've got two firms shaping up to get the best first-class graduates, and one says, we're going to give you a fantastic laptop and €1,000 to kit out your bedroom, and another one says, look, we're going to give you an amazing life in our fabulous office where you're going to meet the brightest people and most interesting people that you'll ever come across. I know where that young graduate is going to go. So it's a very interesting balance between, to a certain extent, the sense of being able to work at home, and on the other hand, the necessity of using an office. As previously mentioned, collaboration. You really do have your most inventive ideas when you're rubbing up against people and working on a whiteboard, etc. So our clients are telling us three things, three distinctly different types of things. The first is, I've had enough of this. I want everybody back in the office and where we can work together. I want to drive my teams. We're doing something fantastic and I want everybody here. So that's one. It's a minority, but there is that. The second group is probably what you've already described. We can have 40% of our staff working at home on a rota basis. The office is going to look a bit more like a club. It's for collaboration. We will need some workstations because, you don't have, 9 to 5 solid meetings when you come into the office, so you will have to work, but actually it's much more of a club and a meeting environment. The third group, and we've been commissioned to do quite a big study, saying, look, we do want to have an office in the central business zone, but we'd actually like to have some satellite drop-in offices around the suburbs, because actually working from home isn't that great. But being able to walk or cycle or e-scooter to maybe a drop-in office, which we might completely own or we might have as WeWork, that could work for us. So we'd have this sort of hub and spoke thing. And then when we want to get everybody up to collaborate, we do have the central office and we can do that. So, we're seeing those sort of three models there. My daughter's coming to help me do this. This is, look, would you like to join us?
Hello.
It's not working from home today. Will you let me just finish this and I'll come and help you in a minute? Okay.
This is the new normal, Jack.
Off you go, darling.
That's the new normal.
Yeah, this is the new normal. That's right. It's family life.
People have also relaxed a little bit, no?
Yes, exactly. I would just also like to reflect on the co-working office. In many ways, the co-working office was invented at the scale we know it now after the 1990 recession, where after the recession, people used their redundancy payoffs, the money they were given to lose their jobs, and they started their own, lots and lots of startups. And Regis ballooned at that time, providing premises for those startups. And of course, Regis has now changed its name to IWG, and I think it's the biggest of the co-workers all around the world. And, you know, so this pandemic, this recession is on the one hand a huge challenge for the likes of WeWork, and it'd be interesting to hear from Mohammed about this, because I'm sure a lot of his clients are handing back the keys and saying, look, this doesn't work for us, fabulous, we've got such a short lease, we're off. But actually on the way out, I think there's going to be a boom in the recovery for people using co-working spaces for all sorts of different reasons, corporates and startups. Okay,
thank you very much, Jack. And our last guest is Nigel Osman. Nigel is an environmental psychologist and director of Workplace Unlimited. We have been together in many conferences and many places about workplace. Nigel, it's an honor, and thank you very much to be with us.
Hola.
Hola. You know, you can do it in Spanish if you want, no problem. Most of the audience is in Spanish, so you can.
I'll do any more in Spanish. I can order a beer, but that's about
it. Okay. What's your view about this post-pandemic situation?
It's a case of where to start. I thought your results were very interesting, and again, like the other presenters have said, are kind of in line with what I found anecdotally through my own clients and been reading in other surveys. So that's all very interesting. I think I want to pick up on a couple of points that I'm maybe concerned a little bit about or interested in going forward. The first is, and again, Jack's touched on this a little bit, about we've all kind of very rapidly got used to working from home, but is it for everyone? We've heard about the younger staff who want to return to the office for their mentoring and so on. Also, some families with dependents and young children, they might feel they need to come back to the office to be able to work without those wonderful distractions. Some people just don't have the space at home to work, to do focus work. So whilst most people do, I'm going to do my focus work at home, and I'm going to come in the office to collaborate and socialize, because that's important as well. Stay connected, build trust with your colleagues. Some people, they need to come into the office actually because they need the space to focus and concentrate as well. So you will find a percentage of people requiring that capability. I think the other thing that related to that a little bit is the technology aspect, and this kind of working from home, it was forced on us and it happened very rapidly, and people were very good in getting up to speed quickly, so managing to grab equipment and tech from the office and take it home with them maybe. But I am worried that there are some people working now extensively at home without the right technology, without ergonomic furniture, without the right working conditions. And as in the UK, and I think it applies to all the EU, as an employer, you're responsible for the place of work of your employees. So if you're forcing them to work from home, we need to be making sure they've got the right working environment at home. And I don't think many organizations are doing that yet. I think they're thinking about it, but they're not doing it yet. So those are some of my concerns. Personality is the other one. Again, we touched on it just before we came online, but certainly I think the extroverts. I do a lot of personality profiling as part of my job. I think the extroverts are suffering a little bit from cabin fever. They're the people who are making all the calls and on the Zooms and the team meetings and just seeking that stimulation and social interaction. Whereas I guess the introverts, they're a little bit more happier with working from home without distraction from colleagues pestering them for interaction. So I think there's a personality element as well as the age and obviously the role and so on. Now, the other thing you said, which does concern me, and I'm going to take a different view. Yeah, we keep hearing about organisations saying that if they've got a lease break coming up, this is an opportunity for them to release space because only 50–60% of occupants of their people are going to be in the office at any one time. So why wouldn't you introduce agile working, hot desking, flexible working, and therefore shed some space? But I don't think that's the right thing to do. And the reason I say that, because again, both in the UK and across Europe, over the last 10 years, we've seen workspace densities increasing. And we're squeezing people into space. We're pushing in more desks. Desk sizes have got smaller. When I worked for an architect's practice 15–20 years ago, we had 2-meter desks. I've got organizations now saying we want 1,200-meter, 1-meter desks. All that's doing is putting people on top of each other, putting people closer and closer together. That's not good for acoustics, it's not good for concentration, and it's certainly not good for minimizing cross-infection. And if you put that alongside the fact that for some years we've been reducing fresh air ventilation rates in buildings, so we've been recirculating old air, I think that is what's one of the biggest problems we've got going forward. So I think we need to hold on to our space, introduce the flexible working, have 50–60% of people in the office, separate out the desk a little bit more, create more space, maybe add in a lot more of that collaboration and interaction space. But again, it's got to be well spaced out and just go back to, I think, a reasonable occupational density, because I think we've just overdone it over the last 10 years. And this is a weird analogy, but in the animal kingdom, whenever a den, whenever a hive gets overpopulated, disease comes in and it reduces the population back to something more manageable. And I just think we might be seeing something of that going on both in our offices and society.
Thank you very much. No, it's interesting. Well, we can, Maria, you can join everybody in the conversation now. No, it's interesting what you say about reducing or not reducing the space. No, of course, I agree with you, Nigel, that if the density is terrible, no, it's an opportunity to put it right, no, put it right the density. But what I think, I don't know if you agree, Jack, is that the way we measure offices in the past was square meter per employee, no? And
per person or per place?
Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. We measured it square meter per person? Per
person, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But not occupancy, no?
Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, I think when you have any sort of reasonable ratio of agile working, you can't do it per head count because you get crazy figures. So you have to do it per anticipated occupancy, which is going to be different to the business's head count.
Yeah. Well, I think actually, if you just base the density per desk, we're going to reduce the number of desks, but we can increase the space per desk by having all that other wonderful collaboration space and spaces around. The density per head count will obviously also be affected, but I think it's about reducing the space per desk because it's only when people in that we're trying to minimize.
I think this is a real opportunity to have. I mean, you use the term smart. This is 3G smart group, etc. And I think this is an opportunity to go forward to a smarter workplace. When you look at what we've done to date, by and large, and let's leave WeWork out of this, but the traditional workplace, they've done certain things just because we've always done it that way. Well, you know, this sort of intervention of COVID has broken that, and I think people will now say, let's do it the way we want to do it. Let's do it the way that makes sense. You know, so we don't have people slavishly coming in just to do their email in front of their boss. But we do have people coming in to have interesting conversations about new ideas and training and all this sort of things. So I think the result of this could be a much more enjoyable work style, regardless where you are.
But this is something that is not new, no, Jack? This is something that was happening in some companies in the past, no?
Yeah, new ways of working, been around for 30 years.
The change, I mean, I often complain that the rate of change in the workplace is glacial. It's incredibly slow. Yes. And I think it's something to do with the lease lengths. You know, you do a fit out and you hold on to that fit out for a decade or at least, and you're reluctant to undo all that investment. So you just keep working the way you decided to work 10 years ago. And I think one of the breakthroughs of WeWork is that, you know, they didn't do it by focus group or whatever. They just said, we think this is a great way to work. And holy cow, a lot of people agreed with them. And, you know, so that has uncovered, you know, a latent desire, which has previously been covered by the slowness of change in the normal workplace.
No, but when going to the psychologists, one of the things that we have commented, Nigel, is that it looks like everybody has go home. Things have works mostly okay, no? Things have worked okay. Companies are continue working. So most of the people I heard from a client the other day say, okay, we don't need to do any change management. People have changed already. No?
I think, I mean, to some extent, COVID-19 has been the best change manager of implementing agile working. I mean, I'm working with an organization right now, and we were introducing agile working, and we just had people saying, there's no way we can work from home. I can't possibly do my job at home. And we had managers saying, I can't have people working at home because I won't know what they're doing and I won't be able to manage them. And now that conversation has disappeared. But there's still elements of change management, because obviously at the moment people are still a little bit worried about how the workplace will work going forward, how we'll manage the short-term issues. And also I think, whereas initially, whatever it was, 100+ days ago, this was all a bit of a novelty and everyone was kind of highly motivated. I think that novelty is wearing off now. And I think we also went into it thinking it's short term and something's going to come out at the end. And I think patience is now wearing thin. People are like, okay, we've been doing this. We've been making do, sitting on orange boxes at the kitchen table and bits of managed. And I've been managing to stay in touch with my colleagues through the online meetings, which is great. But I'm not sure people want to do this indefinitely. And I think we are ready for that hybrid blended solution of time in and time out the office, which is what we've all been promoting for 20+ years. So,
Mohamed, you want to start?
I was like, I agree with Nigel on this topic. I wanted to link on what we've said previously. So, for example, we can see it in our in the last several weeks what happened in terms of demand for WeWork. And like usually who comes to WeWork, like usually are enterprises that they take half or full floors, they customize it, and usually they take it like the location, the grade of the building, and obviously the flexibility that we discussed before. But also in terms of like why we work and what they are like, really we are seeing also the densification that is a need that they are asking for. And from ourselves, like from our side, we are selling it in a square meters point of view, not in a desk point of view, because then like once usually they customize it, they have a half or full floor, and they really, with us, we try also to like be somehow a consultant with them in terms of what could be an efficient way of being aligned from our side to their strategy.
Yes, because really, Muhammad, in WeWork, in any this flex works, there is like two realities: is the dedicated space for a company, which is like the headquarters of any company, no?
Yeah.
Workplace, and the fancy areas, no, which is the co-work area where it's a lot of collaboration, socialization, and things like that. No, there's really two different worlds, no?
Exactly, Francisco. That's why we are called flexible. So we really like somehow we adapt to the strategy of the members. But like adding to that, also being able and use, I think Nigel said it before, which is they are in need on having not all like as the financial institution have done the last years, which is a headquarter with everyone was squeezed inside of it, but having multiple locations and being able to really like use this efficiency of having multiple locations within the same city. We were looking at the commute time, and for example, in terms of in New York, half of the population can get to a WeWork within 15 minutes without using like cars, etc. 53% of our members in Madrid, that used to drive and to get to work through cars, they stopped taking cars when they moved to a WeWork. So like this is really like the time of commuting, being able to utilize all the footprints of and being able also to have the space that they want customized within the flexibility that they need.
But this, Mohanna, as Jack said, this really have changed the strategy of the flex offices or the flex companies, no? Because in the past you used to go to the prime zones, the same zones where the client was. And now I think it's important what Nigel said and Jack said about this having this proximity to the home, no, to cover the satellite to the satellite.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen, the result of this, at least immediately, is that people want to either live near their work or work near their live, and so we're seeing people. Moving out of the city, getting bigger homes because they want to work a bit more from home. House prices are going up in the suburbs, but they want to go into a drop-in office in the suburbs. They don't want to commute. And we're also seeing people who years ago moved out to perhaps do a long commute into town, don't want to do that anymore. So they're buying pied-à-terres, they're buying small apartments in the center of town so they can be near their work. So it's very, very interesting. This is not only affecting the offices, it's affecting the way we live.
Yes, and we are seeing in the real estate market, because we did all this issue in real estate also, is coming a decentralization, because we were coming in the last 30, 40 years, everybody was centralizing, no? And now we are decentralization, no?
I think that's right. I think we could see a flattening out of the density of towns. I think we could see the suburbs becoming a little bit more popular, but even commercially, not just residentially. And then maybe office buildings in the center of town might get converted into residential. In fact, the UK has just changed the laws, so you can change offices into residential without needing planning permission. It's very interesting.
No, that's why what I was saying, Muhammad, that perhaps the co-work spaces, flexi spaces will change a little bit, no? And I check it with some of the players, no? Look, the strategy, no?
Yeah, look, it depends. So we need always to focus that every decision that the company does and that we do is also impacting and needs somehow to be calculating what the talent wants. And the talent want to be somehow in the best area, having a grade A building with an incredible experience. So being close to home, obviously it's very important. But there are also other factors that are somehow very important. For example, in our surveys that I was discussing about a little before, 78% of our companies, enterprise members, said that being in a WeWork helped them attract or retain top talent. So the question is, what top talent wants? Do they want to be in a suburb, like working like out of the city, or they want to be somehow in a grade A building, in a grade A area, having this somehow experience of working X number of days of a week?
Well, you will have everything, as Nigel was saying before, no? Really, we are all the diversity that we have with our clients, our talent is that diversity. So what we have to offer is choice to the people, no? The organization have to give choice of what Jack was saying, to go into the headquarters and you have a nice place, or just staying nearby your house, or staying at home, no?
Absolutely. That's why also having like a footprint, so multiple offices, multiple buildings within the same city will be a great added value, and it is a great added value.
Nigel, coming to the people, which we have already all changed in a week, no, to a flexible concept, but that's not real, no. The people have not changed, no.
I think the thing with people is we're very adaptive. I mean, that's what makes us one of the most successful species on the planet, is that we either change the environment to suit our needs, or we change our behaviors to suit the environment. So I think what we've all done in those first few weeks of lockdown is we adapted. We made sure where we could get the right equipment. We changed our work styles and so on. People, given the challenge, will rise to the challenge. Sometimes we talked about change management. With change management, you need a burning platform. You need a reason to change. Otherwise, we'll just stick within our comfort zone and plod along and not adopt anything new. But occasionally, you get something that shakes things up.
Like the COVID.
Yeah, COVID, and Jack mentioned the 1990s recession. Something forces a change, and then this kind of quick adaptation becomes the norm. I think what we have to watch is we don't revert back to old behaviors. This is what I'm concerned about, is that as soon as we go back to the offices, if we don't kind of constantly remind people of the issues, the dangers, if we don't have good visual clues, lots of feedback mechanisms, because you can't see it, and you can't wait till you've got it, because it's too late then, it's affected everyone. So there's no visual, there's no obvious signs that you're doing the right behaviors or the wrong behaviors. That's the bit that worries me, because I think people will fall back into normal behaviors very quickly. I'm seeing it in my high street. We've relaxed the social distancing in the UK. It's not even social distancing, by the way, is a bad term.
Yes, in Spain also. In Spain we have also relaxed everything.
Yeah, but they kind of relaxed it, but people aren't adhering to it at all. And now we've introduced masks, but people were definitely not keeping 1 meter apart. They weren't wearing masks, and that's why they've had to, I think, enforce stricter measures. Because as humans, we will always revert back to the line of least resistance, the easiest behaviors and so on. So that's my concern. I think we've still got a lot to do when people return to the office to continue with these good behaviors. And that's why I keep saying, please don't think it's about getting rid of all your office space, and because I think we need to help people with design, visual clues, and I'm not a big fan of arrows on desks and all of that thing, but I think there's some subtle things we can do just to help people get back to a better behavior and a better way of working.
I'd raise a couple of points. I mean, one thing we haven't mentioned, you talk about human behavior, is there have been quite a lot of mental health issues. You know, people working at home by themselves, or maybe in an abusive household. You know, the office might have been a refuge for them, a sort of support mechanism. You know, so you know that hasn't been good about that. On a completely different subject, the result of the pandemic is not only working from home, it's going to be a crippling recession. And to fight your way out of a crippling recession, you have to be the most competitive that you possibly can be. So all managers are going to be looking to cut their cost base. And this working from, I mean, I hear what you say, Nigel, but you know, I can just see my clients saying, right, this is an opportunity. We can see a better way of working, which also costs less money. And we need to cut our cost base because we need to get out of this recession in good shape. So I think that's what's going to happen in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, Jack. I'm just, I think that there's a difference between reality and wishful thinking. But I do think that is possibly a short-term strategy, reducing space. And at the end of the day, we need people to be at their most effective. And I think to do that, it's about providing people with the right equipment, the right mentoring, the right management in the office, out the office, and so on. It's just too easy to say, let's cut our cost base. And let's face it, that's not how you make money. You don't necessarily make more money. You don't necessarily have better business by cutting your cost base. Better business is through the right investments, working smarter, all the things we've been talking about. So, but I understand it. I think it's a short-term measure, and that probably will be reality for more than I would like. But I don't think that's the long-term sustainable way of going forward.
Well, I think it's the both things. No, I think you are right, both of you, because of course there is an opportunity to reduce if people, instead of 70-80% of occupancy, you have 40%, you have double of the space. No, really. So it's an opportunity to I prefer the word optimize by this cost. No. And this opportunity, and it's also welcome during these days, as Jack was saying. When you are preparing to a client a flex model, the way the manifesto, how it's going to work, this flexibility, how they are going to work, and then at the end of the work of the test of the exercise, you tell him, and you are going to reduce by 30%. Oh, that's perfect, no? Because you get both things. You get the talent, you get the attract the talent, you get more productivity, and also you optimize the cost. So it's like
you get your cake and eat it.
Yes, no, they can pay your bill. No, and it's a problem of have the correct, no, the correct.
Yeah, so I mean, so you're saying it's not about halving the space, but it might be that you get 25-30% of the space.
It depends on the origin.
Yeah, I think that's going to be about right. I don't think you would drop the space in direct proportion to the number of people that are working at home, as it were. And I would like to think that we end up with a much more intelligent way of working, a much more enjoyable way. Which reconciles all of the issues that we've all brought up, and allows people to work from home sometimes, for young people to get trained properly, to have a fabulous social life through the office, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think something you just said there, Jack, reminded me. I think another thing we've got to think about, and you all touched on it, is the package. When you join an organisation, the package is now there's your desk in the office. The package is very different, isn't it? It's like you've got access to this space, that space. You've got this technology. You've got this equipment to use at home. It's you get the whole full work setting gambit rather than the small choices that we give people at the moment. And of course, co-working membership might be one of those options as well. But I think what people get as part of their office it's not an office package anymore. It's this kind of work anywhere package is going to be slightly different, I think.
Yes,
experience should be an experience, right? So yeah. Like a potential, and that's how we are trying to place it, and we are placing it, which is a membership that will allow you to have access to an experience, which is the WeWork one with a global footprint. So I was really agreeing with what you said, Francisco, before, because from one hand we are having a dedensification that will increase the need of space in the market. So like supporting what Nigel was saying, but from the other, the optimization and somehow the cost that the companies are somehow investing into it needs to be smarter and more optimized. In this scenario, like from our hand, we are trying to also like sensibilizing and discussing with all the members to make sure that what they are seeing from our hand is, and I heard like somehow the co-working, etc., but it's more a vision of a flexible workspace. So somehow adapting to their needs. In terms of day one, what they will have, Nigel, that's a good starting point. But in terms of, for example, having all the amenities, the vision of a community with all the like members that are somehow in your industry, in other industries, but knowing and sharing exactly what they are doing. And from the other hand, the culture of each company, it's going to be the key to retain their talent and to make sure that they are really like focusing on making sure that there is not only an environment of people like working, but it's an environment where people can share, build, and make sure that the added value it's really delivered throughout, like not only what you are doing, but greater than ourselves somehow. So
no, because this will be really the most important thing to go to the office will be to socialize, to see each other, to work together, no? Because normally the simple tasks you can do it remotely, no?
Well,
so
not everyone, Francesco.
Not everyone, of course.
Showing that there's certain age groups and someone that still need to come in the office to do focused work. But
there is so many, Nigel, there is so many third spaces, like bibliotheques, Starbucks, your mom's house. No, there's so many places, no, to really, no.
Yeah, but Nigel is right. I mean, we tend to categorize, the workforce and any particular client into what we call personas, and the personas will have different requirements. So if a persona, for instance, is a receptionist, the receptionist has probably got to be in the office, to receive people. If a persona is an accounts clerk, well, the accounts clerk could probably come in once a week just to meet up with the boss and get on very well at home. And there's a myriad of personas in between. And, when you get down to the nitty gritty, I think there's still some big discussions to be had. I can see clients saying, well, okay, when I have 40% of the staff in the office, I want everybody to have a desk that they can work at for all day. And you go, well, actually, that's not why they're coming into the office. You might need a few desks because people now and again are going to want to, between socializing, to sit down and hammer out a document or an email. But actually, a sofa area is a workplace. A meeting room is a workplace, and you need to head count in those. So there's ongoing challenges with our clients, to get to a common understanding of how the office might be used.
We have a question from Mark. Mark Achloff. You know him very well as I. Do you think this will affect the choices that graduates make? Will the workplace real estate arena be less attractive, Jack?
Well, I think I addressed this earlier on. There is the war for talent. And I think graduates are going to want to work somewhere that not only gives them a job, but actually gives them a career and gives them a network, a fantastic social life. Because that's what you want as a young person coming into the workplace. So I think young people.
But Jack, this is not what you have already described. Is very far from what we normally see in a headquarters, which is a big a chicken farm of a big open plan with hundreds of people working in long benches, no?
I mean, in that chicken farm, they're probably having a good time.
No, but this is
in the cafe. But again, it comes back to the this optimized future that we're all talking about. I think needs to be an optimized future for the young graduates, for the first 5 years in an office, because it's so important to your career. It's the foundation of your career. It's possibly the foundation to your life, your lifestyle. So I think it's very important, to facilitate that. And put it another way, if you want to get the best people, facilitate that, and they'll come and work for you.
But we can have free range chickens. So we can still create attractive to the new talent, and it's got all those work settings that we've been talked about. But yes, it's just that attractive environment with the mixtures of places to do focus work, because I think we have to remember that, but also the collaboration spaces, the social spaces, they're all there. And I think we also have to remember it's not just about the space. And saying I think it's that package of space, technology, and management, organization, culture. So how are we going to ensure that those people are mentored? How are we going to ensure that they're getting all that tacit knowledge that you talked about, Jack? Because there's no point just the graduates being in the space, and if there's no one else there, they'll learn stuff from each other and they'll adapt. But wouldn't it be great that actually there's a flow of staff around them that are kind of helping them along? So I think it's about that package, an attractive workplace, whatever, membership for WeWork or whatever, but it's got to be that flexible choice. It's no longer about a desk in an office. It's about the whole package.
I think that you may see, or you have experienced in the last weeks, is that all this discussion that we have talked about, the workplace model and so on, is now in the management, in committees of many organizations, no? So COVID has moved everything and also elevated the discussion to the management committee, no?
Absolutely, yeah. I said I'm working with an organisation at the moment, and pre-COVID there was resistance to agile working. The top table wanted to do it, but no one else wanted to follow them. And now, thanks to this home working experiment, we're finding it a lot easier to convince people that agile working is the way forward. But it's top of their agenda, absolutely.
Absolutely, no. So you're happy with the COVID, no, Nigel?
Good things about this.
With some of the things, no.
We are afraid every cloud has a silver lining. It's a horrible thing, but there is some stuff coming out of it. I mean, during the actual lockdown, there were so many people just out walking in the country with their family, people staying locally, not commuting, not traveling. The shops started to open, so now people are buying locally, and there's that kind of society element of it. I thought it was really quite good. It was like back to grassroots, back to basics, and it'd be a shame to lose some of that, actually.
No, it's changing the way we are going to live probably in the future, no?
Yeah, I think there is a worry that this is not going to come to a sharp end. The vaccine is found, and 8 weeks later everything's fabulous again. There is a worry that vaccines are not very effective, that maybe there's mutation, maybe there's spikes going up, and this could go on and on. And a protracted working through COVID period is going to be really challenging. I think for cities that are mainly high rise, which are dependent on lifts and people getting in lifts to go up to their workplace, are going to be really challenged by a lingering COVID situation.
Yes. Okay, well, we are at the end, because our experience is that when we cover the hour, everybody disconnects immediately. So we're going to disconnect before they disconnect us. Okay, you agree?
Thank you very much.
Jack, Nigel, Muhammad, thank you very much for being with us. It has been a pleasure, and I will be talking with you three for 1 hour more, but this is the time. Okay.
Thanks very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Very good show. Thank you. Bye-bye.